Outsmarted, outcoached, and definitely more disciplined, Clemson beats Florida State, and this was not pretty.
You are Locked On Seminoles, your daily podcast on the Florida State Seminoles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Seminoles for this reaction show after Clemson knocks off the Noles 24-10 in a game that Florida State was beaten at the beginning, and that was really the outset. I'm your host, Brian Smith, longtime college football recruiting analyst. Thank you for joining Locked On Seminoles for this reaction show on the #1 podcast network in the country. We are growing and we are having a blast. Thank you for coming in once again. If you're not becoming everydayer right now, definitely going to give my takes. I'm not going to be shy about it. I can tell you that. So without further ado, I want to jump into a couple of things that I typed up to kind of summarize my thoughts on the game. And I doubt many of you are going to disagree about this. I really doubt it. But here are the things that I see. First and foremost, despite the early deficit, Florida State's defense battled, the offense battled, and they were competitive. That's the good thing. Like, they turned it around from the Stanford game when there were some cracks in the surface. Now that I got that out of the way, here it comes. Horrifically outcoached by a defense that was awful last week, talking about Clemson. It's not often I get on Gus, but he got beat pretty good tonight. Part of that, Tommy didn't have a great night, and you can tell Tommy is not healthy as in like as much as he needs to be to throw from the pocket. But Clemson won at the line of scrimmage some tonight more than they have. Their defensive line just played better. There's no shortcut here. They played better than what they had recently. The things I called them out on, maybe they watched my podcast. I don't know. But they made key plays with getting to the quarterback, etc. Whenever Florida State crossed the 50, it's like Florida State inserted 11 new players. They were good in their own territory, but once they crossed the 50, and especially after they got into the high red zone just above the 20, Florida State just shot itself in the foot. The dumb penalty, Wayne, Micah Pettis, the inability to make a block, mental errors up front, all of it. It's a problem. And as much as I like to pile on Norvell, and trust me, I will momentarily, this loss was more about players than it was coaches. And there's still plenty of blame to go around for coaches. Don't get me wrong. Just give me a second. But the players have to execute basic functions. And the number one thing in any level of competition, do not beat yourself. 15-yard penalties at any point in a game are obviously a no-no. At critical junctures in the other team's territory, that's a whole nother level of what in the world are we doing? You got to be kidding me. But that's what Florida State did. And to that end, Florida State didn't make any of the big plays down the field. Once they got to like their own 40 or 50, Florida State has been very, very good, quite frankly. One of the best teams in the country until tonight at hitting the bomb. And I talked about that all week. It was a key reason that I picked the Noles to win a close game. They didn't get that tonight. Hats off to Clemson partially. Part of it, Tommy wasn't as on. Part of it, pass protection wasn't as good. Part of it, hey, Clemson's players played good. But now this is where I shift it to the coaches. You had to think Clemson was going to adjust in some way. Had to. They were just sliced and diced by a future NFL quarterback in Mensa, the Duke quarterback, who, by the way, they lost to UConn today. That just shows you how weird the ACC is. Yeah, UConn beat Duke. That's terrible. But at the same time, Florida State didn't seem to have any answers, no adjustments that really made any differences, which is shocking for the Florida State offense because Malzahn's got about as much experience as anybody in the country. Again, part of it is on the players, but in this case, just scheme is scheme. I'm not saying Tommy is Mensa in terms of accuracy. He is not. But they didn't play to his strengths, and they didn't come up with any scheme it up wide open. We got to get a freebie touchdown kind of play which is always what you're looking for in any game, especially when you play a squad that was literally, I think, 91st in the nation or something like that, and passing plays allowed of 40 or more yards. Clemson's one of the worst in the country. Florida State, a team that is elite at it, couldn't get it done. So the area you had the largest strength, you were beaten, and beaten, quite honestly, pretty bad. Run game averaged, let me see here, I want to say 5 yards a carry, give or take, for the night. Just over 4. They had the sacks killed Florida State. How many sacks did they give up? Holy moly, 6 sacks. This is what happens when you come into a game. If you get down early against a team that has multiple pass rushers that are going to the NFL, plus a linebacker / just do-it-all guy like Sammy Brown, and just speed in the front seven. Clemson's defense has been very inconsistent, no doubt. But when you get down to those guys and they have to lessen their responsibilities, they don't have to worry about the eye candy in Gus's offense with the motions on it. They have to pass. If they go get 8 yards here, we don't care. It's 3rd and 15. When you get to those points, you are in no man's land. You're like swimming in the middle of a whole bunch of sharks. It's not going to go well. How in the world Florida State came out like they did in the first quarter, again, part of it's on the coaches, but that's still a player problem. You're playing in Death Valley, and you come out and lay an egg in the first quarter. At Clemson, that's one of the most fun environments. It's a rivalry game, and they're not that good, and you couldn't score at all. You barely got on the board before halftime. The defense played well enough to win. The total plays doesn't match the time of possession. Florida State plays with different tempo than Clemson. But it seemed like the defense was just on the field because the offense shot itself in the foot. There was just never any momentum. All the things we said all week long, and pretty much every Florida State site did, Warchan or anybody else, Noles 24/7, must win the first quarter. They could not have played worse in the first quarter offensively in terms of being quote-unquote clutch. In fact, they were the definition, and I've said this so many times this year, of non-clutch. 3rd down, penalty, missed read, missed throw, missed block, just bad execution. That is all player. Now, as far as the coaches, again, I just have to say the same thing. They didn't scheme up any plays for touchdowns. That is Gus's specialty. This was not one of his better nights. I know the players didn't execute great, fair enough, but you have to give them at least one free touchdown or a play where they have, all they got to do is catch it or something. That's your job. You're making millions of dollars. He didn't get it done tonight. Now, this is the one that drives me bananas. I rarely talk about this stuff because I don't even know how to cover it in general. Field goal kicker misses a very important field goal. But you were in the red zone, choked it away. Get all the way down 20 immediately, then missed field goal. On top of that, you have another situation you get down there. You ended up with a field goal, but Wayne with the 15-yard penalty. Pettis had a 15-yard penalty after you crossed midfield. These are just dumb. That has zero to do with the coaches. But on top of them not helping you get the freebies, you take it in reverse. What is that? Like just bad on bad. And then the defense is hung out to dry. All the times they were hung out to dry, if you'd have told me, hey, Brian, Clemson's going to get 24 tonight, how do you feel about FSU's chances? I said, I'd tell you 10 out of 10. Take it. Noles will win a close game. It won't be pretty, but they'll win a close game. To lose by 2 touchdowns against Clemson's defense, who just got crushed by Duke. I know it's a good quarterback, but they don't have the talent that Florida State does. Duke dropped 46 on this team last week, and you scored 10. The players should be embarrassed by that. Just lack of concentration, lack of discipline, lack of everything that you're supposed to do. And think about Florida State's offense. For the most part, that is junior, senior, and graduate students. There are a few exceptions. Chroma plays some. Okay. Danzy plays some. Okay. Everybody else is 3rd year and above, pretty much. There are very few exceptions. Landon Thomas, 2nd year. Okay. But he's an NFL guy. Danzy's an NFL guy. Nobody was in sync tonight. This is the end of the season. It is really weird. Again, nobody knows more than me that I like to pile on Norvell. Excuse me. But at the end of the day, that's not a Norvell problem. That's a player problem. So I don't even know how to grade that. Not showing up to play well at Clemson. Oh, boy. I think that I need to jump in the chat here in a second. I'll do so right after the break. But when we come back, I want to get into the chat. We've got a whole bunch of comments. I want people to give me their thoughts on if this was more player or coach problems. I personally think tonight was more player. Because, again, the defense, while it wasn't great by any means, it played well enough to win. And if you do anything in that first quarter to 20 minutes, and it's 10-7 after the first 15 to 20 minutes, you might win. You're down 2 scores like immediately in Death Valley. We're going to talk about that next, right here on Locked On Seminoles. Today's show was brought to you by DoorDash. It's almost the weekend. Time to look back and crown this week's MVP, who delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order. These players deliver when it mattered most. Let's break it down. To be honest, I don't have just one player here. I'm just going to say the effort of the defense to kind of stick in there. They weren't great, but as poorly as the Florida State offense played, it's pretty simple here. The defense hung in, at least gave them a chance. Holding Clemson to 24 points, a team that can really throw it around, I'll take that every time. Hats off to the Florida State defense for applying themselves and not getting gashed like a lot of other teams. Good job by them. And just like Florida State's defense delivered, DoorDash delivers for your Saturdays or DoorDash Streaks. You save every Saturday that you order, stack it up all season, and you can save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Terms apply. Promo good through November the 18th. All right. Thank you once again for checking out Locked On Seminoles and listening to my rant. It is unfortunately due. That's how I see it. And now I'm going to get into the chat, and I have a feeling that my rant is mild compared to what I'm about to read. This is going to be random. If I miss your comment, and I'm going to miss a bunch, there's a ton of comments in here. My apologies. There's no reason for this. It's just straightforward, just kind of randomly picking some here. Apache, another disaster. I'll rent the U-Hauls. Right off the bat, post of the night. I mean, I'll rent the U-Haul. That is awesome. Timothy Harris, fire Mike. Players fighting. We are clowns. Yeah, this is bad. Apache, no discipline. McCoy should have been benched. I was surprised by that. He was right back in the game. Another example of how much control Norvell has lost. I guess we all have to hold our funds from everything, including merchandise sales. On that point, this is just straightforward. That's close. But you also need to write in to the Florida State office, and you need to leave message. Like, you need to make it awkward for them to go into their offices, all of them. Not $1 in any way, shape, or form. And again, I know this isn't popular, but if you have tickets to the Virginia Tech game, you should not go, and you should post on social media while you're not and not give them out. Make it awkward. There's no other way around it. It's awful. That's the only way you can have an impact. All right. Thumbnail needs a change. That is for sure. Yeah, that's what I was thinking for the start. I thought Florida State would win. I picked Florida State, and this is from Yanni. Wait till you see the thumbnail I do when I after these are over, right after, I post it to the main page for the YouTube. And I'll also switch it up for the audio. If they don't get downloaded to audio, it will not be the same as the one it is now. Oh, just wait for it. Trust me. It will be far, far different. Apache, let's just stay in the locker room next week. It's just as long a time Noles fan hard to watch. Yeah, like they basically stayed in the locker room talking about the offense. Didn't even score the first almost 2 quarters. Clemson has our number. They are making up for the 11 straight years we beat them. Now I know what it's like to have been a Clemson fan pre-2014. Yeah. Well said. Joanne, Brian, do you still think FSU has the best offense in the country? I've never said Florida State has the best offense in the country. The best deep passing game, statistically, in the country they've had. I have never said they have the best. That is garbage. If you thought that, you have misguided by a million years. Dwayne, you're an idiot if you thought I was really saying that. And I have never hinted that in any way, shape, or form, period. James Fountain, I like Mike Norvell, but fire his ass tomorrow. He should be. Let's call it right now. No ifs, no ands, no buts. The only reason that Mike Norvell is employed is because of the contract. Period. He has no business being the head football coach at Florida State University. None. Simple as that. Apache, Gus, Tony, and both Mikes. I'll reserve 6 U-Hauls so we get all of that at once. That's interesting. Timothy, 6 is not enough. Ha. This is great. I'm just randomly kind of going through here on some of these. The $100 million question is, can we afford to move on off more? Let me explain. This is from Garrett. And what's up, Garrett? Let me explain something here. I've been speaking to people that have more knowledge than I do. I'm a recruiting guy, and I follow the coaching carousel. I loathe, not dislike, I loathe the lawyer side of this stuff with the contracts. Here's what I mean. Even though you can read most of these contracts, because any state school, FSU included, obviously, you can go read the contract for anybody, the athletic director, president, stuff like that. But there's still buyouts. I was listening to somebody, Matt Moscona, Locked On LSU. He's as dialed in as anybody with any school in the country. He broke the Brian Kelly's being fired, all that stuff. He had a major, like a ridiculously rich booster come on his show for LSU. And they were talking about some stuff that made it seem like there was a chance they could reduce the number with Brian Kelly. Even with these contracts, we don't know the exact number. With that aside, from what I'm learning, just based on evidence around the country, the minimum number that I would expect Florida State needs, keyword is minimum, to do everything they need to do is about $100 million. And if you're saying, what are you talking about? Here's the quick math. It's roughly $60 million right now. If because the contracts, even though they're written, contracts can be negotiated. There's all kinds of things that can happen. But give or take, it's $60 million for the 2 coordinators and Mike, just to get rid of them. That doesn't count the other members of the staff that would go. That does not count hiring anybody. So $100 million is probably a pretty low number. That's a problem. But here's the other side of the coin, and I know I'm beating a dead horse, but if you think this is going to go well in the offseason, if Mike comes back, my expertise will come right into play. What is it? Recruiting and transfer portal. I have another show here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's called the Transfer Portal, basically, because it's the Portal Podcast. It is about roster management. It could also be called the Roster Management Podcast because I talk about it every single day of the week. I got a podcast every day of the week about something, or a YouTube short, or both, about what's going on with transfers and all that. And if you think Florida State's season is bad, wait till you see what happens if they bring back Norvell. You can tell players, there's certain ones, it's not everybody, there's still people that have tuned him out. If he comes back, it will be a train wreck in the offseason. Train wreck. There will not be any hiding it, although the athletic department will try. They will do even fewer, if possible, sessions for local media. Disaster. It will be a disaster. They're in a bad spot. I do not have any dislike for the people in the athletic. I don't know them, so I'm not like wishing bad will on them, but they don't have any good options to choose from. Zero. None. That sucks. That really sucks. $100 million probably wouldn't do it in Florida State's case, because to appease the people like myself and everybody in the fan base, and to keep people from like Ira and all those guys at War Chant and the Noles 24, like Sonone and all them, they're done asking nice questions. And the Florida State media is one of the best in the country about keeping it basic. That stuff's over, especially after the night. Wait till next spring if you bring back Mike. Wait till next fall camp if you bring back Mike. You think it's a disaster now? The gloves are off because they're not going to do well with roster acquisition. It's not going to happen. There aren't going to be that many players who want to come join this. Why would they? It's going to be ugly. Let's see. Garrett, the $100 million question. We want new staff, retain, recruit. What recruits are they going to add, Garrett? Would you come here? Take your Noles stuff off. Like, I help a 7-on-7 team, and a lot of those kids where I help at probably be pretty interested in Florida State. I couldn't in good faith tell them it's a great option right now. There's no way. Either could anybody else. Why? You think you're going to get developed? Did you watch the special teams? You got out-schemed on a 2-point. You missed a field goal. You had a field goal block opportunity. You didn't even try when you made it a 3-score game. Like, there's nothing about this team from a coaching perspective that would make any trainer, 7-on-7 coach, high school coach say, you're going to go get developed there right now. You're not. Matter of fact, the whole state of Florida is kind of that way. It's a disaster in one of the most talent-rich areas in the country for any form of athletics. It's bizarre. UF, obviously, in Miami today, just sleptwalk through the Syracuse game. It's unbelievable. Here's the most basic statement. Richard, what's up, man? Florida State is a very bad team. 100%. When one offensive or defensive player is up, somebody else is down. Like, they are just a yo-yo week to week. Nothing makes sense with them, man. Hypothetically, new head coach Alex Golesh of USF or Clark Lee of Vanderbilt. Two things. Clark Lee is at his alma mater. He ain't going nowhere, brother. If you wanted to pay him $200 million for 5 years or something, I don't know if he would take. I honestly don't. Like, he loves Vanderbilt. And he is not a guy that's going to recruit on the other side of the tracks like you have to at the elite level. He ain't going into inner city Miami and getting kids. He would be a terrible fit. As for Golesh, I don't know about him very much, but he's done well. I wouldn't have any problem with Golesh coming here. It might be a little cheaper. That's an option. I don't know if he would be the right guy, but you could do a lot worse. So I don't mind that. Let's see. I've got a billion. I'm skipping a ton here. I apologize, but there's just so many, and I don't blame people for commenting. It's insane. Tommy just needs benched, and freshmen should play. How many people think Tommy's even 75% right now? Like, little things by this point in the season for all quarterbacks are going to nag at him. Shoulders in particular. It's inevitable. You're going to get hit. But how many think he's even 70%, 75%, somewhere in there? I'll go 70 tops, personally. That's just my opinion. The way he leans into his throws, and remember now, Tommy has a gun for an arm. He's just born with it. But his motion's not consistent all the time. Clemson played better tonight, but his rhythm and everything, he was just off on enough throws that, you know, while Clemson obviously gives out scholarships to some very talented players, it's just, I'm not buying them. Richard, the players are often sleepwalking during the game, and Mike has no clue. To Richard's point here, and thank you once again for stopping in, man. You always post on the YouTube channel. I appreciate that. Here's a really embarrassing fact about Florida State. Well, Wayne gets the dumb penalty, and they not only live in the game, he got the ball. I mean, good Lord. Just no discipline at all. Let's see. Pat, please, will someone face reality and put us out of our misery? When will we quit playing the abused spouse and divorce Mike Norvell? That's a good analogy. You got to end it at some point. At some point, it's on you. But again, this is the booster money thing, and I don't know how that's working, and that's why I hate that part of the coaching side of the coaching carousel. If you ain't got the money, you ain't got the money, and I don't have any details. I doubt even the people at War Chant fully know what's going on because that's a day-to-day thing. But if the boosters aren't embarrassed by this, that gives me more pause than what Mike Norvell didn't do as a coach today or his staff. There's just no way around it. We lost the game in the first quarter. Clemson had the momentum the entire game. That's from Carson Powell. I said the same thing, man. Spot on. Give credit to Clemson. They came out, punched us in the mouth, did what they had, not like they dominated, but they were the ones that just kind of nicked and knacked here and there. They did enough to make plays. And then like the 2-pointer, like they were throwing salt in the wound. When they had an opportunity, the Tigers capitalized. Florida State did not. Simple as that. And it's embarrassing. How can you not be jacked up to play in Death Valley and play that poorly? Yeah, let's see here. Richard, the players had no interest in the game from the beginning. Standing around, looking into the stands, and really did not want to play. They look tired and need a nap. This one's hilarious. Madden King 88 says, we trash. You're not wrong. Like tonight, again, the defense played hard. Wasn't great, but they played well enough for Florida State to win, and it didn't go well. Yanni, if Alford is still confused, all he has to do is think about how Bobby Bowden would react, and it should tell him the answer. Well said. Very well said, actually. Oh, Richard Brookins. We played like you know what on both sides of the ball, but I did notice that while the refs were quick to call penalties on us, they were slow to call on Clemson. I guess Dabo's whining paid off. Yeah, Clemson, statistically, speaking of, they had 2 penalties tonight. Really? That's pretty low, man. What's up, Mike? How you doing, sir? Josh Strickland, we have a stable running back, should have ran more. I agree. Florida State's run game statistically averaged over 4 yards a carry, and that counts the sacks. Sack-adjusted yards, Florida State averaged 6.3 yards a carry, and they scored 10 points. That's almost impossible to do. Insane. No nation, no comments. Sorry, Mike has to go. He is not enough on the kids to maintain discipline, so they don't respect him. True. Lots of examples in the chat to review. Long story short, Norvell and Alford both need to go. That is from Richard Brookings. A very well thought out post right there, my friend. Very, very well. Jonathan Dwayne, missed face mask, hands to face, calling us refs were trash. Then the 2-point conversion. I know none of that would have decided the game, but come on. Yeah, like when a call is there, you got to make it. It adds salt to the wound. And like even one score can change the game, because if you make the right call, maybe the next play that's a scoop and score, or if you got the ball, maybe you have a first down, you throw a fade ball and do score. Every call matters. You never know. And officiating in college is bad. It's really, really, really bad. Let me see here. Timothy Harris. As soon as I saw the 2-point conversion that never crossed the plane, I knew this was in store tonight. Yeah, it's rough. Red zone fumble. Pittman dropped TD2, missed field goal, overthrow to squirrel touchdown. That's 24 points we left on the board in the first half. Not on coaching schemes or play call, execution period. Yeah, like that's why I kept saying the players, and they didn't scheme up anything that was just plain wide open, which Gus usually good for one of those. That was just unbelievable. Like throwback screen to the tight end, flea foot, whatever. Gus has something. Clemson did a good job, though. Give their staff credit. But all this stuff, like red zone fumble, Pittman missed field goal, blah, blah. Florida State moved the ball and just couldn't score. Like, just don't beat yourself is the old rule. Florida State did more than beat itself. It was dreadful. I'm going to take another real quick break here, and then we'll come back to the chat. But my goodness, it is brutal. I don't know what to say about the next game. Like, do we know what Florida State team is going to show up? I'm going to talk about that next, actually, with the next contest. By the way, it's Virginia Tech, and it's senior day. How will Florida State react with the fans? And if they don't start fast, how will the fans react in Doak Campbell? That is next here on Locked On Seminoles. Today's show is brought to you by Supply House. When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today. See parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting on projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. If you got to get something done and you need a part to finish up that job, you can call Supply House, and the next day it'll be headed your way. Join the free Trade Master program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHCollege5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people and real service. So what do we think is going to happen with reference to it's not just senior day, it's what in the world is going on with Florida State football day when they play Virginia Tech next? I had actually spoken to Jeremy Ivins, Rockin' Noles. I go on his channel. He comes on here sometimes. I was thinking about going down to Florida State this next week, maybe Wednesday, Thursday, and just interviewing people. But I wanted to see how the Clemson game went first. Well, it went so bad, I have no interest because it's going to be obvious. Everybody's going to say the same thing. Fire Mike Norvell. It's a wasted trip to Tallahassee. Now let's take it another step further. If Virginia Tech comes out and scores first, remember, again, this is senior day when they play Virginia Tech. Will the Noles fans boo almost from the outset, especially if it's lethargic, if there is apathy, if there is a lack of discipline? Shocker if that would happen after tonight, right? Ha. I think they will. What do you think? For those of you in the chat, let me know if you think it's going to be bananas. What do you think? I kind of think that Doak will get ugly. Let's see here. I'm a lifelong Seminoles fan. Chris Newton says, tough and bad, I've been there, but I'm over it. They don't get any more of my time or emotional energy. That last part is a really key point. And thank you, Chris, for the comment in the chat. Florida State fans are passionate. Always have been. It's one of the reasons I've always followed Florida State. Fans are into it. Doak is crazy. It's a cool fan base. But everybody's got a limit. When the team doesn't pour in what the fans do, you get what you have tonight, including this podcast, including this lethargic look from the offense and the lack of execution, having plays where they had to make it, drop passes, fumbles, personal foul penalties, guys just not executing on blocks, just killing themselves, basically. It's rough. Timothy Harris, how much money would it take for him to fire FSU and then get the USF coach? It'd be over $100 million because it's the staff. It's not just coach. $100 million would be a low total, more than likely, because to get the next guy, like minimum, really, really, really low number for the years that you can get a guy now is probably 5. And that's the problem. It's not the year total. It's the number of years. Even if you get him for $6 million, if it's 8 years, that's $48 million. And it's going to cost you 60 plus to get rid of Mike, Gus, and Tony. You're 60 in the hole and you haven't got rid of the whole staff. And you haven't hired anybody. That's a problem. You're right. They've completely given up. I don't know if they've completely, because some of the guys are still fighting. It's random. And I don't think everybody, it's not just that they've given up. Like, I don't think they agree with Mike. I don't think they tune him in and tune him out all the time. It's just all over the place. You don't know what you're going to get play to play. It's such a weird team. Such a weird team. Niners command. Next year's schedule extremely hard, just like gut. Let the new guy rebuild with no expectations so he can develop and build his culture. Keep it like this. We're going to continue to be losers. By the way, on that note, I was listening to the Cover 3 podcast this week. Obviously, Danny Cannell, he's on that pod. And then Bud Elliott is. They're both Noles. Bud said during the podcast, hey, did you know Florida State Notre Dame game is no longer on the Florida State website. Notre Dame was supposed to come to Doak next year. It's not on the schedule anymore. Why would they do that? I know this is a complete misguided, but if I don't say it now, I will forget. I know myself. My memory stinks. The ACC and the powers to be, meaning the advertisers, want Notre Dame playing Clemson, Miami, and Florida State because they are the three by far biggest draws in the ACC. Why would they pull Notre Dame off the FSU schedule next year? I saw somebody say, oh, well, Notre Dame scheduled Auburn. That series doesn't start until 2027. What does it have to do with 2026? Nothing. If anybody has any insight into that, I'd like to know because it seems kind of odd. Just wanted to kind of throw that out there. Oh, by the way, this is true. Mike Robb. Yeah, he's 100% injured. Yeah, I agree. We're talking about, I assume Mike's talking about Tommy. I don't think he's any better than that. Yeah, 63%, one person says. Bobby Bowden must be rolling over his grave with what his beloved Seminoles have turned into. This is from Richard Brookings. Bobby would not be happy. Here we go. Mike Robb. I'm regretting buying tickets to see them play in Raleigh after the Alabama win. I wouldn't go. I would sell those for $10 and not take the bigger loss. They're not going to win in Raleigh. That's a long trip, too, unless you happen to live in that area. Turnovers and drop passes. 100%. Garrett, 713 days since we won a true road game, not include the ACC championship. Scotty Boy, officiating was absolute dog water tonight. Officiating in college football in general is really bad. Could Gus be part of the answer? Somebody is rearranging the furniture in Norvell's house. Let's see. No accountability on this team. Audie Confessor. Accountability, man. You're right on that. It's pretty darn low. DJ Fair. Gus offense ain't it. Too gimmicky. Either screen, deep ball. Besides the run, it's pretty easy to defend if we ain't playing a complete garbage team. Oh, man. Chris Cruz, players dropping balls, stopping drives, fumble penalties. That's on players. They beat themselves. No argument. No argument. Leftover gaming, 95-29. I've said it a million times. Brock Glenn is just no good. I don't want to disparage the kid. I don't know why we're talking about Brock, but Zuppo the God. Someone said on Twitter, ACC is going to 9 games. Notre Dame isn't ACC. If that's the case, the ACC, and you're right, the ACC still needs Notre Dame to play those because their contract, the way that new structure, Notre Dame gets you by far. It's not even competitive. The best rankings of anybody they're going to get. It's going to be no doubt about it. You have to be able to find them on there. And if Notre Dame and Florida State on there, I mean, they're already playing Miami. They're not playing Clemson. They're only going to play one of the 3 next year. That's not going to make the powers that be very happy, meaning the advertisers. That is not good for the coffers. So I'm very surprised by it. We'll see if anything changes or if that's just a glitch. Who knows? Every Norvell loss, he said we made uncharacteristic mistakes, but they happen every game. So are they uncharacteristic? Zuppo the God. That is a great place right there to kind of conclude. Great comment, man. Just to summarize here, Florida State shot itself in the foot. Clemson's not that good. They played better than Florida State tonight, obviously. But if Florida State even scores 1 touchdown in the first 20 minutes, and they should have scored 20 points in the first half, they win the game. The defense was just completely left out to dry over and over. And it was still just a 2-score game with 10 minutes to go. I mean, Clemson's not that good. Florida State is a very sad team to watch. And for me, it's a very sad team to cover because I don't know how you can cover a team that's basically like the old book. And if you're young, you won't know this, but look it up. Sybil. It was a case about somebody that was just off mentally. That was a famous book from the 60s or 70s. This team is just one day it's one thing and the next day it's another. You never know what you're going to get, just like Sybil. It is maddening. So with that, thank you to everybody that is coming in to check out Locked On Seminoles. I appreciate it. I'll review more of this stuff and we'll talk about Virginia Tech. But Sunday, I may have something. It depends on what I find. But it might be a good idea to just take a day. I don't know. Like normally I post at least once on Sunday. But man, it is hard to review what I just, looking at the stats are bad enough. To review this stuff, go through that film, that's a rough road to hoe. With that, again, thank you very much for making Locked On Seminoles a part of your day. If you have not already, please become an everydayer. Subscribe. We're part of the #1 podcast sporting network in the country, literally. If you want something on Florida State, NBA, if you want fantasy, like we have a fantasy podcast, everything you imagine. I have a podcast about the portal on this channel. Or on this network. It's great network. Make sure you support the Locked On shows and Locked On Seminoles above all else. Appreciate y'all. We will see you again soon.